Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Randy Irwin. I am the national president of NFFE. It's a tremendous honor to represent you all. Um, just want to make it clear that this is not a media call. So if any media folks found their way onto this call, this is not a media call. I do want to first thank all of the dues paying members of the union. Membership is the lifeblood of the union, and we wouldn't be able to do anything without dues paying membership. So thank you all for your membership in the union. You make it all possible. Also want to thank all the leaders in the call, all of our council, local officers, all our stewards out there, all everybody in a leadership role throughout the union. You guys are the nexus to everything that we do, and we would not be successful in any of it without you. So thank you so much to all of our leaders. Today we're going to be talking about e-dues. We're going to be talking about some of the lawsuits that we have going on. Going to be doing a little bit of a legislative update, and hopefully have time to take some questions and answers. So we'll go ahead and get started into that. By now, I'm sure most of you are familiar that Trump signed an executive order in late March, attempting to undermine collective bargaining in the federal sector for over 1 million people. And one of the provisions of this executive order was to shut down dues deductions. And that's been a major threat to our union because, that's how our union exists. NFFE doesn't have a revenue stream other than dues deductions. So that's how our organization exists. And so, basically that's forced us to change course and come up with the NFFE e-dues. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Due to this executive order, government agencies throughout the federal government have been directed to not have union dues directly taken from people's paychecks. So we learned recently that all dues deductions were cut off effective immediately in most agencies. So that varied a little bit from pay period 6, pay period 7, and then there's a few agencies that were kind of left off the executive order and are untouched altogether. And then there's some agencies that were left off the executive order, but had their dues deductions, payroll dues deductions shut off anyway. Essentially for no reason whatsoever. So it's been a really chaotic thing that we've been dealing with this administration shutting off dues deductions mostly throughout government. But for most people represented by NFFE, they've had their dues shut off at this point. That's what's important to know. What that means is we're no longer have the option of collecting union dues the way that we have for decades. And that is why NFFE created our own dues collection platform called NFFE e-dues. And we would like everybody on this call, you can do this in 2 minutes, I promise you. Go to nffe.org/e-dues and register for e-dues. You can do it right away. You can use a credit card or do a bank draft. It is our preference that folks use bank draft because your information doesn't change over time. Where credit cards, the information changes, and it's just more logistically more work. The fees there's also some minor fees, and they're a little bit higher on credit cards. So bank draft is the preferred method, but we'd like everybody to go there, nffe.org/e-dues, and sign up right away. It is vitally important that we make this transition to e-dues swiftly to ensure our union's strength and our ability to continue to representing and fighting for you. It is also necessary to make the switch to e-dues to remain a member in good standing. Some folks had their pay, had their dues deductions, cut off already. And so if we don't do this right away, there's a lapse in your dues. Technically, if you're an officer, you have to remain a member in good standing to maintain your officer status. In order to remain a member in good standing, it's important that you do this right away. And also, folks want to continue to have access to their benefits. We've got tremendous benefits, and only dues paying members continue to have access to those. So it's important to make that switch to e-dues right away. I do want to make it clear that if for any reason NFFE continues to receive dues for you via payroll deductions while receiving NFFE e-dues for the same period, the union will promptly refund you the dues it collected via NFFE e-dues and pause all future NFFE e-dues collections until such time as payroll deductions cease. Let's take the VA, for example. The VA, they collected dues for pay period 6, and so there were some folks who signed up for e-dues and had dues in the same period. And so right now we're going through e-dues and refunding all the folks in the VA their the duplicate e-dues or the duplicate dues that they had for just that one pay period 6. So in the VA, the dues were cut off for pay period 7. So it's a one-time refund for those folks, and their dues they're just moving over to e-dues going forward, and there should be no duplication. For those in the Forest Service, it looks like dues have continued, and we think they will continue indefinitely. That's a positive thing. And so for people who sign up for e-dues out of the Forest Service, we're refunding the dues and then pausing your account, so no further e-dues happen. If at some point, and it's certainly a possibility, that this administration will start cutting off dues for other agencies that weren't mentioned in the executive order. In fact, we just found out that has been happening at HUD. So we've got a couple locals that are HUD units there, and they've had their dues cut off even though they weren't mentioned in the executive order. So we have not been getting clear guidance or information from this administration. They've just been doing whatever. We consider that kind of disrespectful and unprofessional, but it's what we're dealing with, and and we're getting through it. So pretty very quickly here, we'll have answers to all the questions of whose dues have continued, whose have stopped, and have everybody going perfect. But the most important thing is that we need to convert to e-dues right away, because it's a big portion of our membership that we need to carry over. So when somebody signs up for NFFE e-dues, payments will generally begin within the first 24 hours and will reoccur every 2 weeks going forward, unless their membership status changes. Very briefly on that, last call we had a question and answer, and we said, hey, if you want your money to come off on a certain date, you should sign up on that date. The new guidance is ask everybody to sign up right away. And then if they want to change the date that their dues get deducted, they can contact Michael Marmol at NFFE headquarters, and he'll be able to walk you through the change. Okay, so we can get it changed to the right date, but we don't want, at this point, we want everybody to sign up right away and then contact Michael Marmol about getting their dues to come, to be paid on a certain date within a given pay period. So that's the new guidance there. Okay, so NFFE e-dues, and of course, it's not just for new members or for existing members. We want all, new members are signing up through NFFE e-dues. So you don't have to have been a member before to switch to e-dues. We want everybody to sign up for e-dues. And in fact, it's, there's some real advantages. There's some people that are just remote that were very difficult to reach. There's been folks that, just getting a 1187 in hand and getting that turned in, filled out in a hard copy form was a barrier. We don't have that barrier anymore. So, e-dues does have its advantages: quicker, easier, more private, more secure. So we're very happy about that. So let's see here. It also takes away, an important thing is, when we go to e-dues, the agent, when the agency kicks you and all of your coworkers, everybody represented by NFFE, kicks them off their payroll deductions, they're essentially unilaterally imposing on you that you have to withdraw from the union. And that's serious business. it's not a good thing that the agency had the ability to do that. With e-dues, we have the autonomy that they can't mess with us in that way anymore. Because once we make that switch, we are not beholden to the agencies anymore. We collect dues ourselves. We know who our members are ourselves. The union does. Right now when you go through payroll deductions, the agency knows who the dues payers are. Well, when you pay e-dues, the agency doesn't know anymore who the members and the non-members are. They know we represent you, but they don't know who those members are. And for some, that's a positive thing. Um, and so, I would say there's never been a more important time for your membership in this union. We have all kinds of, I think we have 4 outstanding lawsuits. We're trying to stop these reductions in force, unfair, disastrous reductions in force that the agency is planning. We were able to, initially get these initial rounds of RIFs stopped and get people back to work. Now they're kind of doing it quasi, they're kind of covering their tracks a little bit better. The agencies are to do this next rounds of RIFs. They're still messing up. They're still, going to be an absolute disaster. And so we got many routes to stop these things. Of course, we got these executive orders like this one that the president signed around collective bargaining and e-dues and things like that, or like stopping dues deductions. But there's a lot of executive orders impacting federal workers. We're fighting for all those things. We're doing that in the courts. We're doing that on Capitol Hill. And we're making some very, very important strides along those lines. We've got a letter from seven or eight Republicans to the White House, angry about this executive order undermining collective bargaining in the federal sector. Well, that's great. Now this is a bipartisan issue, just as it should be, because they're trying to take away your First Amendment right to form and join a union. That's what freedom of association is, the right to form and join a union. And they're trampling on your rights by trying to strip your collective bargaining rights, and also using a real cockamamie reason. We've had collective bargaining by law since 1978, and now they're trying to use this very obscure small provision, trying to claim that all federal, all these agencies included in this executive order, taking away collective bargaining rights for national security reasons. Although there are no real national security reasons being cited. They're just trying to do it blanket, basically saying the right to bargain is a threat to national security, which of course it is not. It never has been, and it never will be. But that's the case, the kind of flimsy case that this administration is making. So we're building legal. We're fighting this in the courts. We're fighting this, on Capitol Hill. We're fighting it everywhere. But the point is your membership is absolutely crucial, because without the dues that give us the staff to make these fights possible, we don't have these efforts on Capitol Hill. We don't have these efforts, all the things kind of happening in the media to tell the stories of federal employees and things like that. For the lawsuits, the things on Capitol Hill, the things in the media, all these areas that we're fighting. And of course, we still want to continue to represent you. So we got efforts, agency-specific efforts to, kind of get some exceptions to this collective bargaining agreement. They spelled it out specifically for DOD and VA, and we're trying to make those things happen. But all of these things depend on dues-paying membership. And so our role is to make sure that your job, your work, your rights, and your compensation are protected. There's also you probably have been seeing about this budget that got passed. It was a kind of passed by all Republicans in Congress. Bottom line, it was a very partisan budget that got passed. It's not all said and done, because appropriations haven't been done, and authorization bills and everything that happened on a yearly cycle. But they did have a really gross budget that got passed. that had awful cuts to federal workforce pensions and things like that. And those fights are active and ongoing, and we're in the thick of it. And we need all of our members to to continue to be members and to be engaged like they never have been, because they are just coming after everything. They're coming after your fight, your rights, your job, the important work that you do, all of your pay and benefits. I mean, it's scary times, and we need to have that collective strength. We don't want to see it diminished at this critical moment. So please, again, go to NFFE eDues. That's www.nffe.org/e-dues, and sign up and encourage all your NFFE represented colleagues to do the same. I did want to give a quick update. We have nearly 2,000 members signed up for eDues already. So that is fantastic. We're early on in this process here, and we've it's a whole new thing for us. We never did this eDues before, and so we've had to migrate a significant percentage of our membership over in a short amount of time. But I'm very pleased with how it's going. I think 2,000 folks in this short time is fantastic, and we want to see that going. We have not had a lot of complaints at all. In fact, it's been very positive feedback that we've gotten. So if you've been afraid, don't be afraid. Go ahead and do it. There's been a couple thousand people do it already, and we haven't had complaints. So let's see here. I will very quickly want to go over this questions and answer. I'm sorry if this is a little bit repetitive from the call that we did last week. We kind of, as soon as we introduced eDues last week, we wanted to get folks on a call so that we could answer some questions right away. But a lot of people didn't get the memo that this call was happening. So we got a few more people on this call today. And certainly a lot of folks that haven't gotten this message yet. But if you go to neffe.org/eDues, you can sign up right there. And there's also all the information that you have is right on that page. We did make a few changes to make it a little bit more clear. Initially, you had to select FL or CE. That was the first thing, instead of selecting your dues, your local number. Well, now we put all the locals, whether they've got a CE or FL designation, all on one list. And we also spelled out where that local is, what agency and what region of the country, or in the case of the forest, what forest they're on, or what VA center it is, or what have you. So it should make it very, very easy for folks to, even if they don't know their local number, go there, select the drop down for their local, and find the local that they're a part of. Before they kind of needed their local number, where now they should be able to find, if they know where they work, they should be able to find what local they're a part of. We still have unknown there, local unknown, and because we don't want people to not sign up because they don't have their local number. So people can sign up right now, and we can change their local number after the fact. And so if they don't know their local number, they can sign up that way. We also have been starting to make special sign up pages for a given local. We made one for local 1904, the VA in New Orleans. And so it's kind of the same kind of format, neffe.org/eDues /NFFE local 1904, /local 1904. And then it's got some information that's special to them. So a special message from me to the members of local 1904. It's got some pictures up there, things like that. So if there's locals that want to set up their own page, we can do that. It might take a few days to get them set up if you make that request, but we'd be happy to do it. And it might make it just a little bit quicker. That way they don't even have to select their local when folks are going to eDues, and they'll recognize, there'll be some familiar thing, some, pictures and familiar messaging and things like that for your local, catered to your local. So we have that capability now. So let's see here. Why can't I pay my union dues the way I always have? Like I said, this executive order got signed. This has been imposed upon us. We prefer not to have to move the e-dues, but this is what we're dealing with, and there's no getting around it. So we don't have the ability to collect dues via payroll deductions anymore. Period. In most of our agencies. So that means we're moving to e-dues, and we are no longer beholden to the agencies for that. And so that's it's a pain to make this change, but ultimately it'll be better for our union when we've completed it, and we're making very very good progress. So will I be reimbursed my NFFE dues if payroll dues deductions continue to be taken out of my check? Yeah, like we said, if you have duplicate payments, because payroll deductions continue and the e dues have started, we're just going to reimburse you. And then if your payroll deductions are ongoing, we'll pause your account. So nobody's going to be at risk for paying e dues for paying double dues for a period of time. If it happens, we're addressing it right away, as sending your e dues back, putting your account on hold, and because we haven't gotten the clear information from the agencies, we've been in this position of really looking very closely for when the money hits NFFE's account. So we know, okay, the dues are actually coming to NFFE. We're not getting clear information from the agencies, so we have no other way but to kind of confirm it and then go correct what happened with e-dues. But we're being diligent about that, and folks shouldn't worry about it. We've already refunded a lot of folks their money, the early people who signed up for e-dues and still had money coming off their payroll. We will continue to do that, but it should be very short-lived, because in a couple weeks here, we're going to know all the agencies that definitely had their dues shut off, and we'll have refunded all the money for anybody who paid double dues, and it shouldn't happen anymore going forward. So it's only a short period of time that we're at risk of that, and we're being diligent about refunding folks very quickly. And it's an easy thing to do in our system. If somebody paid e-dues and also they're on payroll deduction, boop, refund the money. Happens very quickly and easily. When using a credit card for NFFE e-dues, will it appear as a regular charge or a cash advance? It will appear as a regular charge on a credit card. Will I have to pay any credit card or bank fees in addition to the charges for my dues? NFFE has a few bank fees associated with anybody who uses any business that accepts credit card and bank information. There's a few fees associated with that, but they're very minor. And none of these dues are fees are being imposed on NFFE members. Your dues rate is your dues rate. The union is incurring those fees, not you. So will I be able to cancel my e-dues if I retire, resign, or get laid off? Yes. If for any reason you're separated from the bargaining unit at all, you got promoted, you got riffed, you resigned, you retired, any of those reasons. If you're not working there anymore, we will stop you have to let us know. But we will absolutely stop your dues right away by signing up for e-dues. That doesn't commit you for a period when you're not actually working in your government job represented by NFFE. So we're going to treat everybody fairly. We're sorry we have to go through this exercise, but we're not going to screw anybody in this. So will I be able to cancel my NFFE e-dues if I get removed from the bargaining unit? Yep, we just went over that. How will my financial data be protected? I'm going to read this specifically. This Stripe program, they do a tremendous job. They're known for it. Let me read this. NFFE uses an industry-leading payment processing company called Stripe, which is well known for its security features. Stripe employs robust security measures, including encryption, tokenization, PCI DSS compliance, and fraud detection systems to protect merchants, which we're considered a merchant here, and their customers' sensitive data. From the second you enroll in NFFE e-dues, all your financial data will be safely secured by Stripe. NFFE does not have direct access to your financial information securely retained by Stripe. So there you go. We're not keeping it. The professionals who do this. Stripe is kind of a competitor to PayPal. A lot of the huge ones out there that do e-transactions, like DoorDash, for example, uses Stripe. So if you're comfortable with any of those things, you should be very comfortable comfortable with the NFFE dues. Very secure and kind of mainstream provider for this electronic payments. So how will local officers know that members of their local successfully enrolled in e-dues? So we're right now, Michael Marmol, and if we haven't put his information in the chat, please put Michael Marmol's information in the chat. So we got a lot of locals right now that are trying to get everybody converted to e-dues, and they're asking for reports. Who's all signed up for e-dues? This is going to be a regular process, but we're just getting started into this. We're not even in this a month yet, so we're just. But we got a lot of locals asking for, hey, who has signed up for e-dues? We want to match that up with our current membership lists from payroll deductions and see who's converted. So all you got to do is ask for a report from Michael Marmol, okay, and he'll get you a report right away, and that's how folks are doing it. So I mean, we got some locals who are asking for a report every single day, and because we got to make this switch, and the quicker we do it, the better, because we're just we're kind of missing out if we don't convert people as quickly as possible. But I know it's a big undertaking to do so. So let's see here. Will I get an email confirming that I have enrolled in NFFE dues? Yes, and we're trying to beef up that email a little bit. Right now, bottom line is anybody who signs up for e-dues does get an email confirming it and a message thanking them. And will we be required to enroll in NFFE dues to access NFFE benefits? Yes, you need e-dues to access benefits. Okay, so that concludes that portion there for NFFE dues. So now I want to send it to Jeff Friday, one of our attorneys, who's going to talk about the lawsuits. So Jeff, take it away.
Hello, everybody. So I'm going to start off with the exclusion executive order that Randy referenced that came out on the 27th of March. And so one thing that was in there was a process in the VA and in Department of Defense for exceptions to be granted. So basically, in the VA and in the Department of Defense, if the VA or DoD thought that collective bargaining was not a security threat, then they could allow it to continue. And so we did apply for blanket exclusions in the VA and the DoD, exclusions from the exclusion order. So it's a double negative. But and in the VA, a handful of exclusions were granted. They were all for either independent unions or a couple of trade unions. None of the large unions in the VA were granted any kind of an exception. And they pretty much said that the reason why they gave exceptions were because these other unions had filed no grievances or taken no actions to try and stand up for their members. And so we are actually citing that in our lawsuit as further evidence that this was not about security, but instead it was about trying to take away the union's ability to stand up for their members. DoD is a little murkier. I've not heard, anything official about any exceptions that have been granted, but it does seem that in both the VA and DoD, the implementation of the executive order is somewhat slow walked, and that our folks are continuing to maybe they haven't been kicked out of the union office yet. They're continuing to be able to get official time and maybe to represent folks, but that is kind of all over the map in the VA and the DoD. And then we also have agencies like passports and Department of State and GSA, where they have just shut the union off altogether. Kicked out of the union office, no official time, no longer processing grievances, et cetera. So it's a little bit all over the map. One interesting thing happened. We don't know why, but the one group that was excluded was the veterinarians who represent in animal care and APHIS, and the Trump administration reversed itself and reinstituted collective bargaining rights in animal care, even though they were not a group that was, that were identified in the exception process. But so that happened. So there are three different lawsuits that are basically challenging the executive order. We have signed on to one of those, which is in the Northern District of California. NTU has one, which is in the DC, and the State Department Union has one also in DC. All of these are seeking injunctive relief, and they're in the process of being briefed. In our case, the briefs are going to be finished the end of this week, and well, the current brief is due this week. I think that the final briefs are due May the 7th on that. So I would say that, basically these cases are going to continue. We'll see if anybody gets an injunction, how broad it is. But, we're probably not going to get injunctive relief if we do get it for, weeks or to a couple of months. And if we don't get injunctive relief, then, the case is going to be litigated for several months. So, that we are going to have to just kind of hang in there, because it is not like we're likely to get an injunction in the next few days. I mean, I would think injunctive relief is probably going to be like June at the earliest from many of these lawsuits. Okay, so those are the main lawsuits. Another lawsuit which affects NFFE members. There was a number of agencies that were, almost eliminated or cut. They were smaller agencies. One was the FMCS. One was the Minority Business Development Agency, which is a small agency where NFFE represents folks. And in all those agencies, pursuant to that executive order, almost everybody got ripped. Just, they went down to a handful of employees. The state attorneys from a number of the Democratic states have filed a lawsuit challenging that action. It was filed on April 14th. And so it's just recently filed. And so that is another, NFFE has not signed on to that lawsuit. As Randy mentioned, we've already signed on to 4 lawsuits. We're kind of, we can't sign on to every lawsuit. But anyways, that is a lawsuit that if it gets relief granted, that could affect NFFE members in the Minority Business Development Association. Minority Business Development Agency. As far as RIFs, some folks out there might know better, but I would sum up and say that our folks in GSA have gotten 60-day notices. Their RIFs are due, I think, in early June is when the folks would actually go off the rolls. Our folks in MBDA have gotten RIF notices, and almost everybody's there is being RIFed, except for a couple of 3 people. And other than that, there's all kinds of talk about RIFs. I think RIFs are coming soon, but I am not aware of folks getting RIF notices in other agencies yet. Though, like I said, there's all kinds of talk. What seems to be going on now is a lot of folks taking the deferred resignation round 2. And so the government is, trying to maximize the number of people who take the deferred resignation thereby um, lessening the number of people they actually have to RIF, because RIFs are a complicated legal process where there's many chances for them to go wrong. A couple of other just notes. External organizing, a lot of people are seeing the value of the unions. NFFE has about 40 petitions that we filed for new groups that want to become part of NFFE. A number of those are in the Forest Service unorganized forests. A number of those are in the U.S. Geological Service. And then there's a couple of other folks as well. And those are progressing to elections rapidly. And I would think most of those elections will be held over the next 60 days. Couple of other notes. So normally at this time, we are on a call with the lawyers from all the different unions and get updated on various things. And so I'm missing the update on the MSPB, which is happening right now. But I have seen in the last couple of days emails from the folks I've gotten that have MSPB appeals. And we had heard that Doge was getting into the MSPB and that the MSPB could likely become a lot less effective at providing relief for folks. And it seems like that may be happening because the notices people got were basically that their appeals were just summarily denied. Their probationary firings, and whereas the MSPB was actively staying and working to get probations reinstated, seems like that may be shifting. And the other thing, maybe Steve will talk about this more, but Schedule F, the regs are coming out, which is really straight up reinstituting the spoils system. And there have already been a couple of lawsuits filed against Schedule F, but they're proceeding more slowly. The unions have not sought injunctive relief because there's all these other things that are going on, and it kind of are moving quickly. Okay, so that's all I'll say at this point, Randy, and I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Steve with the legislative update.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon and good morning to everyone on the call. So the next few weeks and months, we're entering now the appropriations process. And so what you're going to see is something is probably equally as entertaining as it is heartbreaking. You're going to see divisions along party lines between Democrats and Republicans. And you're going to see amongst Republicans who is going to stick to Trump's agenda from the White House and who is going to challenge it, because there's a lot of things that Trump is doing that's affecting their constituents in a negative way. Everything from jobs in their communities and their states to the way veterans are treated, the way military families are treated, first responders, obviously federal employees. The way money flows through, Department of Education and Defense and everything else you can possibly imagine. So it has huge implications for the House and for the Senate. So we'll see. There's going to be a test going on, and we're going to see over the next few weeks of these Republicans who's going to stick to the Trump agenda and who's going to stick up for their constituents. So it'll be interesting. So, as Jeff mentioned, there was a budget resolution that was passed a few weeks ago, and all a budget resolution is it's an outline. It's a guidebook for the appropriations process, which is about to begin. Okay, the budget resolution does not have the force of law. It's an internal document that the Congress deals with, and for the moment, it's irrelevant, other than the fact that there is a tremendous amount of political language in there about a lot of things we've seen before for years. Moving a retirement calculation regulations from high three to high five, and moving people up the FERS scale to pay more for their retirement contributions and so forth. There are some things that we haven't seen before, which is, more RIFs and, authority for the president to terminate federal employees as courts, Schedule F and those kinds of things. But those things weren't passed into law. Those are just, again, guidance documents and with a political message attached to it. It's one thing to write those in a budget, and it's another thing to actually pass it in appropriations, where it has the force of law and you have to be responsible for your vote. So we've got some good news. The good news I can share with you is that after the Trump EO came out about eliminating collective bargaining in the federal workforce for quote unquote national security people, which was used very widely and liberally. We came up with a bill called the Protecting America's Workforce Act, which reverses that EO. We are in the process of getting all Democrats signed on to it in both the House and Senate. And I'm sorry, in both the House and Senate for Democrats, and then in the House and for the Republicans in the House, we have 8 House Republicans that sent a letter to the Trump administration, signed it. It was their own letter asking them to rescind that EO. Which is good news because that is 8 people who had to put pen to paper and sign their names on a request to ask the Trump administration to rescind that a bogus national security EO limiting collective bargaining. We have a very narrow margin in the House. If we have 8 people plus Democrats, 8 Republicans plus Democrats, we have enough votes to pass something in the House. The good news also on the Senate side is a very similar letter was sent from Senate Democrats, but also included Republican Senator Collins out of Maine and Republican Senator Murkowski out of Alaska. And of note, why that's important is that Senator Collins is the head of appropriations in the Senate. That's an extremely powerful position. So to have her put pen to paper and say a message to the Trump administration that we want you to rescind that EO is a good start for us through the appropriations process, because we are absolutely going to ask them to defund any effort to continue with that EO. In other words, if we can't overturn the EO, Congress will order the White House not to put any money towards the EO, which effectually invalidates it. And through the appropriations process, we'll be working on a number of other defunds. We want to defund the ability for the White House to do any RIFs or terminations. We want to defund converting people from their federal employee status into a political status, or Schedule F, Schedule PC, whatever you want to call it. And a number of other defunds that essentially stops this administration from doing things unilaterally without the consent of Congress. We're also asking Congress to stand up for itself. We're supposed to have equal and oppositional branches of government. We're supposed to have checks and balances. And when House and Senate Republicans genuflect before the White House without any fight, we don't have that. We have a very unilateral government. And if we have a Supreme Court that isn't going to stand up to the Trump White House either, then we have no real republic at all. So they took an oath. When they took these jobs, they got elected to support and defend the Constitution. We're going to hold them to that. And if they're not going to do that 2 years from now, we're looking to get rid of a lot of them. So we're working on all those projects at the same time. In the short term, we have Legislative Week coming up next week. So we do have a list of bills that we're pushing. We're also pushing the usual stuff. We're still pushing federal pay raises, and we want to establish, a better pay for firefighters. We of course passed we got over the pay cliff issue for wildland firefighters, but we have not fixed at a larger scale the pay, living conditions, working conditions, and so forth for firefighters. With the NDAA this year, we're still pushing all the things we normally do for the NDAA, plus we're putting an emphasis on preserving the civilian workforce. We're pushing for pay parity, for a wage grade and GS pay scales, for locality increases. So we haven't forgotten our normal mission, but on top of that, we also have these other missions of trying to preserve the republic and also fight the White House. If we can't pass a law stopping the White House from doing things, then we want to defund them because they are violating the law, a lot of the things that they're doing. So when you come to Ledge Week, which I hope you do, it's still not too late to get here. Might be a little harder to book a hotel in the conference hotel, but you can still get here. And those of you who are in targeted areas that have Republicans, we have a short list of Republicans that we are looking to get signed on to a couple of bills, especially the Protecting America's Worker Act, which rolls back the EO for collective bargaining. If you live or work in those states or districts, we'll be approaching you and asking you to make a very specific ask. But we'll cover that when you get here. Also want to remind you that on the NFFE website, we have several alerts up there. Please go there to the advocacy page, to our alerts section, and fill out those letters. They're filled out for you. All you have to do is type in your name and address and hit send, and it'll populate it to the appropriate representative and senators for your state. So you don't even have to do that kind of work. It's pretty easy stuff. It's going to be a hard year, folks. It is going to be hard, and I wish I could tell you that things are going to be fine and without a fight, but it is going to be a fight for us. I do believe that as time goes on, I think that we will gather some strength with Republicans because there's only so much you can do. When you have to actually cast a vote, and the vote actually affects your constituents, which they have not had to do yet, though. The votes up to this point have all been messaging. But when a vote has the force of law behind it and it affects your constituents, that's different. That's very different. So we'll see who's a true Trumper and who isn't, who's up for maintaining independence of the Congress. So we'll see that in the next unfold over the next couple of weeks and months. And it's through that I do hope that we can roll to a victory, at least get us through these next 2 years. And then in midterms, either take over the House or the Senate. But we're gonna need your help. You're going to have to get involved as a minimum, those letters, Ledge Week, and make some phone calls to your senators and representatives on your own throughout the next couple of years. So stay tuned and do sign up for our alerts and our emails and help out wherever you can. Thank you, Randy.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah, and as Steve said, we need to get as many people to co-sponsor this Pass the Protecting America's Workforce Act, HR 2550. This is the one that would undo the president's executive order getting rid of or at least attempting to get rid of collective bargaining rights and taking away e-dues. This is the biggest attack on collective bargaining rights that we've ever seen in this country, and that legislation is what's going to stop it. And so if we can, we already have eight Republican members of Congress signed on to that bill, and 200 and some Democrats, and we'll get practically every single one of them before it's over. But it's bipartisan. And if we can get more bipartisan support for that legislation, then when we got things moving through Congress like the defense authorization bill, possibly a couple other vehicles, we can get that legislation attached to it and ultimately signed into law and stop the president in his tracks. Look, collective bargaining rights are not a threat to national security. It is a preposterous thing to assert that. It's just not. It doesn't meet the provisions under law. What the president is citing does not meet these provisions for a national security exception in the first place. It's nonsense for him to try to use this provision to undermine collective bargaining rights for 1 million people.
It never has in 100 years. It hasn't in 100 years. So,
right. So anyway, everybody, the link to write your member of Congress is in the chat. So go to it and write it and get people doing this. We need more. We need every member of Congress. I mean, it's already a bipartisan thing. So if it wasn't bipartisan, it'd be a lot harder. We've already got, like I said, six Republicans co-signed onto the bill. We've got 8 Republicans who signed a letter. So those last 2, I'm sure, are coming on. They're already on the record on the issue. But we need more support for that. Okay. Thank you so much. And can't wait to see everybody for Legislative Week next week. We got to do some real important lobbying on Capitol Hill and build strength for all the legislation that we're working on. Steve put together position pages, 9 different position, all of our issues, all of the bills, the principal ones that we're working on and lobbying on are part of that. And you can find on the website right now. Matt, let's go to questions and answers.
Sure. Randy, can you just explain a little bit how locals can work with their NFFE national business representatives on helping their locals convert to e-dues?
Sure. Um, so I would, if you haven't spoken to your rep, your business rep, about getting a plan for promoting e-dues, please do that right away. We want, this is the kind of, primary charge of our business reps right now. I mean, we have to make this conversion to e-dues, or we're just going to be, really hemorrhaging money. And it's going to like undermine the power and the strength of our union if we don't make this conversion quick. So, we've always been very focused on membership in terms of organizing. By the way, recently we have gotten, done really, really well in membership. Before this executive order went into effect, our membership was absolutely soaring. We had seen about a 20% increase in membership in the last year, which is, an outrageous, huge number of membership increase. And that's great. That increases our strength. But if we don't convert those people to e-dues, then there's that strength disappears. And so every local should be in touch with their business rep and putting together a plan. And NFFE is, I can't tell you how willing, ready, eager we are to help every single local out there execute a plan for how we're going to convert people to e-dues. And so, it's going to vary by, by agency, by location, how what the tactics we will use will be different based on the different situations. But we're ready to deploy people. We're ready to incentivize. If we can come up with some group goals that we want to incentivize, we're willing to incentivize these conversions. Okay. And but be in touch with your business rep, because your business rep is going to be making all the asks of NFFE headquarters, so that we can help with the logistics. Like I said, we're doing dedicated NFFE e-dues pages for specific locals. That's one of the things that can be helpful. But we can do flyers. We can come out there and do what is kind of like an organizing drive, but is kind of like an education drive about e-dues, and we're focused on converting, mainly converting existing membership to the e-dues. But the business reps are on it, and we're ready to help in every way we can.
Thanks, Randy. Next question here is, can you just clarify the guidance for Forest Service locals, since they're still able to have their dues deducted from their payroll? Some folks are wondering if they should sign up for e-dues and then change their allotments so dues aren't deducted from their paychecks, or what should the guidance be there?
So everybody in NFFE should sign up for e-dues immediately. Okay. And if you're in an agency where your payroll deductions continue, we're going to, so as soon as you sign up for e-dues, a payment happens right away. Okay. So, if you're paying dues in a Forest Service local and you sign up for e-dues for at least one pay period, you're going to have double dues. We're going to refund your money via e-dues, and then we're going to pause your account. That's in the Forest Service. We're going to pause your account because, as far as we know, payroll deduction dues will continue to happen indefinitely. But we do want people to convert over, we do want people to sign up for e-dues, because the thing is, once you're going through a chaotic time, I mean, at any point, I mean, like, we're hearing every single day another agency had their dues cut off, even if they weren't even mentioned in the executive order. So that could happen, that could happen in pay period 9 or pay period 10 or whatever for Forest Service. We have no idea, if or why this administration might say, oh, I've had it with these Forest Service workers, and we're going to cut off their dues. I mean, they're doing it on a whim, just like that. Even if we have collective bargaining rights and everything, we're seeing a lot of cases where the White House went directly to payroll and the payroll agencies and cut off payroll deductions, didn't even tell the agencies it was happening. So, so we want everybody to sign up for e-dues. But for all the agencies that the dues are going to continue, we're going to refund that first dues. We're going to put your account on pause, and then you're signed up, and you don't even have to worry about it. And your dues will continue to come off your paycheck as normal. But for the vast majority of people within NFFE, dues have been shut off. In fact, I don't know if we have. I think the Forest Service is the only agency that we have confirmed that dues are continuing to be deducted and are showing up to NFFE. So for certainly for everybody else, sign up right away, because you're becoming you're missing you're becoming delinquent. You're kind of not going to be a member in good standing and lose your access to benefits and all those sorts of things. Next question.
Thanks, Randy. One final question here. Is NFFE working to protect our status as remote employees? And kind of in that same vein, another question is if we submit new requests for telework agreements, do those admit that we're agreeing to new return to office dates, and does that hurt our chances to return to remote work? I think Jeff was going to take that one.
Okay, Jeff, go ahead, jump in there.
Yeah, so the answer depends on the agency. So I mean, everybody's kind of standing in a different place. In some agencies, like for example in GSA, they're just like they've repudiated the contract. They won't talk to us, about remote workers or anything else. And so, we are working to get our collective bargaining rights back. And then we are going to, once we get them back, we are going to start working on, resume working on all those issues that we were working on. Folks in the Forest Service, I mean, I think they've been having more discussions about remote work, because there's actually still somewhat of a semblance of collective bargaining still going on there. And so they're actually able to impact what's happening with remote workers. Whereas in GSA, they're just, our advice to anybody, if you're a remote worker and you get ordered to come back and, the union's not able to, file a grievance on your behalf, then you're going to have to, make that hard decision about what you're going to do. Our advice generally is, don't be insubordinate. If you get direct orders, you're going to have to comply with them, or you're going to have to figure something else out. But we're going to pick up on all that stuff, once we get our collective bargaining rights back. Kind of related to that. I mean, if you're in the VA or if you're in DOD, and if they're continuing for right now to let the union function, then file grievances about everything that where grievances need to be filed. Then if they stop processing them or whatever, then we may want to still file them just to have a placeholder there to show that, hey, we were working on this issue. But we got to deal with the fundamental issue first of getting our rights to function back before we can get to the specific issues about remote workers or teleworkers.
Thanks, Jeff. So if we didn't get to your question today, we'll be answering those via
Matt,
email.
don't want to interrupt, but I do want to I did see one question that I do want to respond to real quick.
Okay.
Last thing here. I want everybody to know that this union is not going anywhere. Okay. This executive order signed by Trump is an attack on collective bargaining and on unions. Our union is in a much better place with the folks that are not included under the collective bargaining and e-dues are continuing. And bottom line is we have about 73% of our membership that is already accounted for. Dues are going to be continuing, or they've already converted over to e-dues. So we're at about 73% already and climbing every single day. For some other unions that, vast majority, 95% of their members are kind of have lost e-dues. They don't even have an e-dues platform. There's a lot of unions out there that don't even have an e-dues platform yet. So ours does. Our members are converting over successfully. It's been a good experience. And we have 73% of our dues members already accounted for, going to continue to pay dues. That number is going to continue to rise every single day. And so our union is not going anywhere. Trump signed this executive order. It does not, if we've got several avenues to restore our collective bargaining rights right away. The legal route, the kind of things that Steve was talking about on Capitol Hill, defunding some of these efforts, this legislation to reverse the executive order. So there's lots of avenues to have collective bargaining rights, fully restored. But even if Trump is successful with his executive orders and we're not able to stop it in those ways, it's still only a pause in loss of collective bargaining rights, because we still have the right under law. So he hasn't changed the law; he's only signed an executive order, and so it could be reversed with the stroke of a pen as easily as he created the issue with the stroke of a pen. And by the way, his popularity isn't getting any better, and Republicans are already starting to run away, from his really toxic policies that aren't going to help. They're not going to help their own constituents. They're certainly like we're going to see some really bad things happen. I fear if you go laying off hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and we've already had 275,000 federal workers either riffed illegally, by the way. If they've been riffed illegally already, or kind of bullied into resignation. And so, if we lose that number of people, agency after agency is going to be seeing disasters. I mean, we're not going to be caring for veterans. Wildfires are beginning running rampant. And agency after agency, there's going to be things that are putting people's lives at risk, and things that are just going to be very, very upsetting. People aren't going to be able to get a passport. People aren't going to be able to get a social security person on the phone, et cetera, et cetera. Our government will not continue. If these people think government's going to continue as it has been by laying off hundreds of thousands of people, they're nuts. And so, the rubber hasn't truly met the road yet, because all of these things haven't been fully implemented. But it's coming, and their policies aren't going to get any more popular. So we got lots of ways, to kind of correct this. And even if Trump continues, it's just a pause, because it can be undone with the stroke of a pen. And so we've already got our dues accounted for. That means NFFE ain't going anywhere. And even if we lose collective bargaining rights for a short amount of time, we're getting them back very shortly also. And so, the fight continues, and we need people to stay with us and stay engaged in this, because if we get weaker, we'll get there. It'll just take a lot longer to get there. So we want people here right now. Let's not try to fight to get your job back. Let's make sure you don't lose your job in the first place. And there's nobody other than the unions fighting these fights. The good news is there's a big coalition of people in America that are finally understanding the importance and the role of the civil servants and the incredible work that you all do every single day. So stay with us. This union ain't going anywhere. We're in a better spot than everybody else. And we've been around 107 years. We're not going anywhere. Trump can make up some BS, and we're going to beat it. We're going to beat it because it's very transparent what's happening. I mean, he's calling it saying this is about national security, saying people at Bureau of Land Management have a primary mission of national security. No, they don't. Yet for agencies that do have a national security mission, he's exempted them from this executive order. So it's very clear this is all being done for politics, and the courts are going to see that. Members of Congress are already seeing that from both sides of the aisle, and we're going to fight this. We're going to win. We're never going to back down. And but we need everybody with us. So don't let your folks go, oh well, just fade off because they got to make a critical switch to e-dues. Okay, so thank you all. Sorry we're having to go through this, but I can't thank you all enough for helping us make this switch. All right, guys, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.